Alrighty. This exercise is an exercise that's designed to use the information that you took to draw one object and build upon it using relationships, a point of reference. So this will become your point of reference, the first one, and then you'll quickly be able to draw these boxes without going through the entire process of drawing the box that I did in the previous video. But we're gonna have to do that in the very beginning, and then we build upon that, and it gets kind of quicker and faster as it goes. So these are just boxes that are hanging around in the house. I selected small ones so I could fit them in the camera. So I'm gonna take these two off for the moment. And I'm gonna draw this box first, okay? And when you're drawing, when you're doing this exercise, try to, the reason I'm just using this one side of my paper is so you can see it, but this box here, try to make about this big at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but try not to make it too, about as big as your hand down at the bottom, because you're gonna build boxes on top and you need the room to fit them in. Okay, I'm going to start with this guy. First thing you do is measure its overall proportion. So you have to make a visual assessment. Is the height bigger than the width, or is the width bigger than the height? In this case, the width is bigger than the height, so you measure the height first and then count that into the width. It looks that way though. I'm gonna measure and see what happens. So just bear with me. Yes. It counts 1 to, like, I'd say 1 1/3. It's not a 1 1/4. It's not 1 1/2. It's between 1 1/2 and 1 1/3 or a quarter. So let's just call it 1 1/3. It's fine. What I just did there, just as a review from last class, is that I measured the height, which is right here, right? And I'm trying to find the back point, which is the highest point, and I'm using my thumbnail right there and put it right in line with the bottom. So you can kind of see that I'm going back and forth, boom, 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 just like so. And then I'm going to count 1, 2, but in this case, I'm sorry, 1, 2. It counts a little bit more than 1 to 1 1/2 from that point of view, but my point of view is a little different, and mine was about 1 to 1 1/3. So because the height is the short side, you start with the height first, and then on your drawing. So before, with the other box in the other video, I started with the bottom part because that was the width. In this case, I start with the height. So, and you can see my line I put on there. I'm gonna make this about this big. I could have moved it down a little bit, but whatever, it's fine. For the sake of the drawing, it's fine. And then these two lines, I'm just gonna run over to the other side, run over to the other side. Try to make them as parallel to the bottom of the paper as you possibly can. Okay, now I don't know where this ends, but if I count this guy, 1, mark it, and then about 1/3 of this, which is about right here, let me just see if this counts, or I'm sorry, 1/3 of that, I'll just do it right here. That's about 1/3, 1, 2, yeah, that counts about 3 times. So that little mark here, I just take this, I add it on to the mark here, put my finger there, mark it. So I basically times this by 1, that would have been a square, and then I added 1/3. That's it. And then I just draw a line straight up. That's how quick it can be to get the overall height versus width of this object, the overall proportions. Everything, including the highest point, the lowest point, and the widest points, lives inside of this rectangle. So parts of this rectangle will be carved off, and then in the end. Second thing we do is we try to find out where this corner is. This corner to me is much closer to this side than it is to that side. I can measure and count how many times this plane, actually let me do it. I can count how many times this plane counts into that plane. I can't do this backwards, but what I would do is measure, let's see if this kind of, it's hard for you to look. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lean back, I'm going to measure that left plane, and I'm going to count how many times it counts into the right plane. So I have my measurement, I'm holding my measurement, and now I'm going to count 1, and I'm visually marking off where my thumb is so I can bring the point of the pencil right back to it. 2, it was less than 2. So when I counted, it didn't fit twice in, it was less than 2. So if I were to make a guess, just put a mark here, that's my guess where that point is. And if I count 1, 2, less than 2, that's pretty good. That's less than 2. Notice the tip of my pencil is past the point. Less than 2. I think it was a little bit more less than 2, so I'm just going to move it over just a hair than what I had. So this is my new mark. I think you can see that. Okay. Now I'm ready to sight my, well, before I sight my angles, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line straight up. This represents son of a gun. Don't move don't bump your still life. This line here represents this line, and remember, this is just a quick review. Now I'm going to sight these angles. So I'm going to sight this one here. And as you can kind of see, I'm sighting this angle here, and then I bring it over to my line like so. And do you see how my pencil is intersecting that one line right there? I'm trying to point with my middle finger. I make a visual mark and I mark it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that real fast. I mark it, and then I connect this corner with that line, that mark I just made, with a straight line, a long straight line. Now I'm going to get this side. So what I do is I go here. That's so hard to do back. Sorry. There you go. It's something like that. Since it's so close to a horizontal line, it's nice to put a horizontal line to see how much it actually goes up. So from my point of view, because I'm a little lower than you guys, I believe it's a bit of a bigger incline. Next thing, I got to find where this corner is. How far down does it live? I'm going to make a guess and just say, hey, maybe it looks like it's right there. I'm not sure yet, though. I have to measure the top of this plane, the height of it, and compare it to maybe the rest of the form, or compare it to the width. I might compare it to the width because it's easy for me because I already have the width established. You can only compare something that you already have established, using it as a reference point. So the reference point will always be the height and width because you have that's the first thing you do, the overall proportion. So right now I'm going to measure, basically, if you can see, I'm putting the tip of the pencil here, and I'm going to measure where my finger is, like right there. I'm trying to get the height of the top of the box. Once I get that height, then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. The height of the box counts 4.5 times in the width. And you might say, like, well, what does that mean? What do I do? So what you're going to do is, see this little guess that I made? I'm going to get my pencil, and I'm going to put my finger right there. My finger is at where the mark is, and I'm going to put it on this side, and I just slid, so hold on a second. Now I'm going to go here, mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit too small. It should be bigger because I said it counts 4.5 times, and I counted 5. So if I make it bigger, so if I just move it down a smidge, just a small amount right here, it's probably going to count in 4.5 times. So now that's my new mark. I'm going to measure again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That feels better, 4.5 times. So I just moved it down just a hair, and I'm just gonna erase these lines just so I don't confuse myself. Put it right here. Now, remember the intuitive perspective thing? You can put these lines out, but before you do that, I wanna establish where the heck this point is. And what I can do, this is called dropping a line. This is something I didn't discuss in the last video. Do you see how it's so hard to do in reverse. Do you see how I'm lining up that back corner and the pencil is going through the form? I'm using this, I'm dropping a vertical line and I'm trying to see where it intersects that bottom part. I'm just making a visual assessment. I'd say it looks like it's about right here. My pencil looks like it's about right here, which means that that back corner most likely is right there. That's not me guessing, that's me taking all the information, lining it up and seeing where it exists. And from what I was doing here, from what I'm looking at, it's a little different. So mine's a little bit on the left side. I just had to make a quick adjustment. All right, that being said, I can now run my lines over. So that point I had here before, I'm gonna run a line in this direction. Remember, these two lines have to converge on a vanishing point somewhere. I can run a line in this direction. This line has to converge with this line. It's gonna be close to parallel too, but it's gonna go down a little bit. What a lot of students do, they'll draw them going out. They have to converge. They have to meet as they go away from you in space. Very important. Once it hits this side, and you can also double check the angles. Once it hits this side, run it back to that other point. And then once it hits this side, run it back to the other point. And then this should eventually meet here. This goes there, this goes there, this goes there. So these will eventually meet way down there. This clearly will meet about right here. And the eye level where these meet is on the horizon line. So your horizon line, which is your eye level, is probably way up here. And if you look at my eye line, it's right where my eye line is. So it kind of works out. From the camera, it kind of worked out that way. All right, so you can kind of see my little guy here. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a new box. So I'm gonna stack a new box on top of this. And I'm gonna stack it in a way where it doesn't fall. And I think I'm gonna angle it just a little bit more. How's that? All right, that's good. Where it doesn't fall, and but it's a little bit out, and you can see both sides of this plane. That's why I was trying to adjust it a certain way. So this is pretty easy. You have a lot of information established here to throw this information in. So the first thing you want to figure out is if you look at this line, if I were to drop a line straight down from here, how far is it away from there? You can kind of make a visual assessment and be like, it's about that far out. So right now, I'm going to use that, drop a line, and look how far it is out from the other form. I'd say that's a good guess. I just marked it, the distance out. So I'm gonna say that is the right side of that box. Totally fine with that. In this case, we don't have to draw the rectangle, the overall height versus width. We can, and I might go about that way at some point, but I'm gonna see if I can get there without doing that. Excuse me. The next thing is that right here, that corner, it exists not far from this corner. We have this corner pretty well established. So it looks like it's up and over. So think of it like longitude and latitude lines if you're trying to find Hawaii on a map. 44 north, I'm sure that's not it, but longitude and latitude lines. So I'm going to go up and over. Latitude lines go east-west, longitude north-south. So if I go up and over, I'm gonna guess that that corner is right there. And you kind of see that I put a little dot here, okay? The other thing is that if that corner is here, I'm just gonna commit to it. But another way of checking is that you can drop a line straight down from where this is, the vertical line from the corner, and see how far your pencil is from the vertical line of the box you already drew. And then you can drop a line here and be like, huh, that's pretty similar. All right, I found two different pieces of evidence to say that that's where that is. You're good to go, move forward. Next thing is that this line intersects this about right here. Intersects it about right, I'd say here, right? So I can pull this line down a little bit because I believe it's going to go up just a hair, and there's going to be a line that goes out through here and it continues straight. Can you guys see that? Well, I'm trying to make it as dark as I possibly can. So I found this kind of, I have this in, I have this in, I have this in. I'm going to put this guy in next. So I can either cite the line or I can use this. See the back corner there where it intersects that line? I'm just going to take a guess and say it intersects it right here. I put a dot, if you can see that, and I can just connect those 2 points. But don't stop there. You want to check it. So you can cite the angle, right? You can cite the angle and then bring it over your drawing and see if the angle is the same. And hey, well, what do you know? It's pretty close. So I'm just going to cite it. Not bad. I kind of lucked out there. So usually when you check yourself, you find out that was wrong, but the more you practice this, the better. That back corner is not far off of that corner itself, so I can just kind of draw a line straight up. Look, I almost have this thing completed. The height of this, how can you figure out the height of that? And I'm not talking about the very back. We're not going that route this time. I'm talking about the height of this guy. You can compare it to this, or you can count this guy and then see how many times it counts in the end of that. It might count 1 1/4. I'm gonna see if it does, because it looks like just a quick assessment, it does. So I'm measuring it to the bottom, 1. Yeah, like 1 1/4, 1 1/3. So basically what I just did there, I measured this and I counted it into this, blink. And it just, yeah, it was like 1 1/4, 1 1/3. So I'm going to take this guy here, that would be 1, and if I just take a third, which is like right here, so I'm just adding a little bit, and then I add that on top, there. I just found my height. So this height should be definitely bigger than that one, and then you can just kind of double check it. Now if this line goes in this direction, this is almost a horizontal line. And this is another trick, you get your ruler, you make a horizontal line. Probably not going to look horizontal from your point of view, but you make a horizontal line and then you look at that line and see how much up it goes. So this line here is going to be pretty close to horizontal because this doesn't go up that much and this doesn't go up that much. Now, I probably didn't cite this last line that well, so this is starting to affect this, which is affecting that. So if there's a problem, you're gonna have to just go back and redraw it. That's what part of drawing is, redrawing. You're gonna teach yourself so much more as you continue to draw. So I'm making this line here. You just make sure that this line is close to parallel, but it's converging towards it just a little bit, not diverging, converging. Because it's going away from you in space. That plane is going away from you in space. This corner is closest to you. This goes in this direction. So this is also gonna go in this direction. It's probably gonna be something like this. Okay, and then you can cite it and double check it. It's like something like that. That top plane I don't see much of. This one, it's gonna be here, probably gonna be like here. So you can kind of see that I have that form in. I think this line might be a little bit too long, so maybe I'll crop it off just a little bit. There we go. That feels a little better. So you can kind of see how I built this box. based off of this box. Now, one thing I'm looking at though, and it was probably because I drew this a little quickly, but the width of this one seems to be it's the same as the width of that one. I don't know if that's the same, but maybe it is. I can double check it. It actually is the same. So never mind. It worked out. It's exactly what I wanted to do. The next thing, what you're going to do is throw another piece on. Another object. Actually, I'm going to turn it so you can see. There you go. An angle. This is pretty simple because from your point of view, look at that bottom line of this guy. It lines right up with that one. So that's what I'm talking about, relationships. If those relationships exist, it's so much easier to draw. So you can just run a line straight up from here to put the side of that form in. Find another area that's kind of easy for you to, because now you can use both of these boxes to figure out the third box. So if you look at that corner here, where it lives within this plane somewhere, right? And it's not far from this line here, so I'm going to use this line and see how far over, and then maybe how deep it is into that, or high, because there's no depth, height it is into that top plane. So what I'm going to do is find out, sorry, see this line here? I'm trying to figure out like where this thing is in relationship to that, to the edge of the cereal box is in relationship to this line. And to me, I would say, I'm just gonna mark it and say, you know, it looks about right to me. A lot of people, when they draw for the first time, they're like, but that cereal box is wide. I know it because I use it and I make cereal. But when you angle it on an angle like that, it goes back in space. So this plane gets smaller as it goes back in space. So you have to start to understand, trust your eyes. Don't think your brain knows what the truth is. It doesn't. It's going to lie to you all the time. Your eyes. You have to trust your eyes. And the only way to trust your eyes is measuring and sighting. That gives you the truth, and that's all you can use. So I'd say that's pretty good. So I'm just going to draw a line straight up. That represents that line there. This corner here, see if I can find that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a line down from the corner and see if it lines, if it's close to any other corner. It's not, it's to the left of this corner. I'd say about like right here. Okay, I found my 3 lines. I don't know the other lines, but I can figure that out pretty quickly. Do you see right here? It intersects this line right there. That's pretty simple. I'm just gonna say, looks like it's about right here. About halfway on that line. And then I'm just gonna cite it. Once it hits this corner, I'm going to cite the other angle. The more you do this, the faster it becomes. The height of this, I'm going to measure, I could measure this and count into there, but I have a feeling this might count twice into it. So that's an easy one too. So I'm going to measure the bottom corner and compare it to this one. 1, 2. It's a little less than 2, but it's pretty close. I'm not going to do the flaps. I'm not worried about that. So then I'm going to take this measurement here. I'm marking it with my finger. I'm going to go 1, 2. It's not as high as I thought it was going to be. It's about right here. This line goes here. If this goes out here, I think this might be a little less of an angle. And I just realized that it's above my eye level. So this line, as I'm doing this, rookie mistake, it actually goes down because it's going towards, it's above my eye line, which is about right here. It's going to go down. So it's going to do something like this. But I'm going to cite. And this is normal. This trying to figure out these angles, you're going to make mistakes like this. There we go. And the other one does the same. It's going to go down. And there is your cereal box. So the trick is to keep building these forms. I'm just going to double check that measurement because the cereal box does look kind of thin or short. Let me double check something. It says that's what it is. That's what it is. I'm feeling that if I erase this, it might look a little bigger. All right, so if there's any questions, I think this might be more of a horizontal line. Shoot me an email, but try this approach. It's going to really strengthen your observational skill set. It's going to sharpen your the ability to make those relationships or see those relationships faster in the future. And you're also using a point of reference. In this case, the point of reference was the first one, and we started to use this also as the point of reference. So the point of reference can grow. And a point of reference is what you use as a guide to compare measurements to in other parts of the drawing. And we'll cover that again later. All right, good luck.